pizza, the fuel of the proletariat. It's some news. Probably the biggest today is that Ron DeSantis ended his 2024 presidential campaign. Why? Because he had no chance in hell of winning. But um, he's basically like my opinion of DeSantis is that we certainly dodged a bullet. Um, like this guy's a technocrat. He knows what he's doing. He's not loud and bombastic like Trump is. He's quiet and he pushes through reactionary agendas, um, like low key. And we do not need low key fascists. We need fascists who trip over their own feet, like Trump does. Okay? Why? Of course, ideally, we wouldn't have any fascists at all, but we're in America, which has been a fascist country since its inception. So, um, the quiet types, the ones who push these reactionary executive orders and shit through. Like this guy has basically gutted every African American studies program in the publicly funded Florida school system. This guy has declared war on what he considers wokeness in in his state. So Georgia and Florida are they're the test cases. Like everything that they want to implement on a national scale, whether it be the repression and increased RICO laws that we're seeing in Georgia against the Cop City organizers, or the fight against wokeness, or the continued repression of our trans comrades, especially youth that are going to public schools. Like they're rolling that shit out in Georgia and Florida. And yeah, so keep an eye on that because Trump is going to win in this year in November. That's a given. Biden is basically a lame duck at this point. So the energy that we had between 2017 and 2021, like we need to double that. We need to double that, and hundreds of thousands of people are going to enter the ranks of the left, and we need to keep those people. We cannot let them just go back and sit down and do whatever they were doing before they got radicalized in 28 if they elect another Democrat. So it's an opportunity. Like Mao said, all under heaven is chaos and the situation is excellent. But we can't just sit and idly wait for the situation to grow even more excellent. We have to consolidate our gains that we're going to be making when Trump wins and people flood the ranks to the left.
Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who had been, when he got in, the one to beat Donald Trump. And now what we're seeing is that he only survived one contest, only survived Iowa, and he is dropping out of the race before voters even go to the polls here where I am in New Hampshire day after tomorrow. This is
common Italian hell. Like, honestly, America is going to collapse before we ever see an Italian American president. Why? Because Italians simply cannot govern a country. We don't need an Italian president.
a really stunning decision, a stunning decline for a candidate who had millions and millions of dollars. All of the donors who were kind of not into Donald Trump at the beginning.
Plus, the fucking guy has the charisma of one of those fucking ugly ass sea creatures. So, yeah, American politics is extremely celebrity driven. And DeSantis simply doesn't have that celebrity factor that Trump does.
Of this process, way before he even got into the race back in May, they said Ron DeSantis is our guy, but he clearly felt that that was not going to happen for him. The money was drying up, and the polls were making clear that he was not going to be able to make it very far. And that is a deadly combination when you are running for president. Just in our poll.
The deadly combination was being Italian and from Florida.
Today, Frederica, he got only 6% here in New Hampshire. He has not been advertising here, for example, since November. And that just kind of gives you a sense of where things are. If you go back to Iowa just last week, Frederica, he went to all 99 counties. He made a very big push there, and he didn't win one of them. And so the combination.
Imagine busting your ass to lose every single county you visited.
Combination of that, all of the money that he spent, and the lack of traction that he has been getting made it very clear to him and the people in his campaign, the people in his family, that it was the end of the road for him in this particular race, and he is suspending his campaign, Frederica.
Well, Dana, it's still really remarkable because we're talking about the timing of it all. Why now? 2 days ahead of the New Hampshire contest. Oh, wait a minute. We've got that video now in that we want to share with everybody that you were making reference to. Dana, let's watch and listen.
Reminds me why I decided to run for president, to fight for those who've been forgotten in this country.
No, you didn't.
This is America's time for choosing. We can choose to allow a border invasion, or we can choose to stop it. We can choose reckless borrowing and spending, or we can choose to limit government and lower inflation. We can choose political indoctrination, or we can choose.
So that's the thing that always gets me. They always talk about political indoctrination, but you also push this fucking God, faith, and family bullshit. America's dope. If you criticize America, you are inherently anti-American and should be deported. And if you think that the Palestinian people have the right to exist, then you are Hamas. Like, isn't that political indoctrination? Of course it is. This is what Mao meant when he said that politics is warfare without bloodshed. Like, there is a culture war going on in this country. There's a war between what can commonly be defined as two sides. You've got the progressive side, the black side, of course, as we saw the other day. Not everybody that's black is progressive, but people who are in favor of black liberation, Latino liberation, people who think that migrants should not risk dying to come to this country, people who want Israel to stop doing all of the horrible things that it's doing with our tax dollars. Like, you have the progressive side and you have the reactionary side that DeSantis and Trump and Nikki Haley and Tim Scott and the rest of these people are pushing. Tim Scott engaged to his white girlfriend, by the way. The guy's a walking fucking trope.
Choose classical education. These choices are symptoms of the underlying struggle to ensure that constitutional government can endure and that Western civilization can survive.
Woo, that's a dog whistle.
And we launched this campaign to bring accountability to government, regain sovereignty at our border, and restore sanity to our society. We cannot succeed as a country if we allow our nation to be invaded. Our currency
I want America to be invaded, and I want America to fail as a country.
To be debased, our cities to crumble, and our kids
So what is your plan to fix Detroit?
to be indoctrinated. The DC elites who facilitated this mess do not care about you.
The DC elites that you aspire to join?
And they do not work for you. They work for themselves. They see.
And who the fuck do you work for, bro? It always kills me when politicians are like, "No, they're bad. They don't work for you. They're elitists. Vote for me. Let me join the elite.
Seek to accumulate power at your
Let me join the elite. I want to eat out of the fucking public trough too."
expense to pursue an agenda that is harmful to the American people. Citizens do not serve politicians. It is the duty of politicians to serve you. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words.
Trope after trope after trope. Empty slogan after empty slogan after empty slogan.
Reversing the decline of this nation requires leadership that delivers big results for the people we are elected to serve. I have a record of leading with conviction, championing an agenda marked by
You have a record of fucking dry running fascism.
bold colors, delivering on my promises, and defeating the people who are responsible for our nation's decline. That is the type of leadership we need for all of America. Now, over the past many months, Casey and I have traveled across the country to deliver a message of hope that decline is a choice and that we can, in fact, succeed again as a nation. Nobody worked harder, and we left it all out on the
Hey, BRG, my name is Garrett, and I live in Iceland. Well, hinga-dinga-durgan, motherfucker.
field. Now, following our second place finish in Iowa, we've prayed and deliberated on the way forward. If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me
How does Republican policy work with regards to African immigrants? I don't know about the white Latino issue. Those guys also hate the educated Africans from the East, West, and the Caribbean. White Latinos are the biggest bootlickers in the United States. They hate everybody who's not white. Yes, they hate Africans.
That a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him.
Lawfare.
I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee.
Why are you glazing this dude up as if he hasn't spent every fucking campaign rally, like, mocking you? He makes fun of your height. He makes fun of your voice. He makes fun of your state. He makes fun of everything about you, and you're just hearing this fucking speech glazing him up. Pathetic.
I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The days of putting Americans last, of kowtowing to large corporations, of caving to
kowtow, an anti-Chinese dog whistle.
Woke ideology are over. I thank all of our passionate supporters who've stood by us through it all.
Imagine getting passionate about this fucking guy. Imagine getting passionate about an Italian. Imagine getting passionate about the governor of Florida. Imagine getting passionate about this fucking guy. Like, I thought Italians were supposed to have spunk. They're supposed to have riz. They're supposed to say shit like, I'm walking here. Or, vaffanculo. Shit like that. This guy, his name doesn't even end in a vowel. He's not Italian. I hope the Italian people kick him out. I hope they don't claim him. I hope they do to him what the Irish did to Biden. This guy is not a real Italian. He's probably one of those northern fuckers that are more akin to Germans anyway.
Had people volunteer to come to Iowa in the middle of a blizzard to knock on doors and make phone calls touched us dearly. No candidate.
You know who's a real Italian? Chris Christie.
Had more thrown at him, but no candidate had so many committed volunteers and staff. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Casey, and our kids, Madison, Mason, and Mamie. Casey's gone far above and beyond in her support for our campaign and for our cause. She's not only a great wife and mother, she's a great American who cares deeply about the future of the country that our kids will inherit. Our kids have seen and done a lot on the trail, from playing on the famed Field of Dreams baseball site in Iowa to making their first snowman in New Hampshire. They are one of the reasons we fight so hard for what we believe in. Winston Churchill once remarked that success...
Oh, shut the fuck up. Yawn. That's why you lost. You have no riz.
Ghost.
Remember those Palestinian kids that shot in Vermont by that fascist? Well, one of them is giving his talking. Let's see what he has to say.
Remember gunshots and falling down.
For the first time, Hisham Awartani, the Palestinian-American college student who was shot and paralyzed, is telling his story. How he and his two friends were ambushed on a November night in Burlington, Vermont, he says, because of racism.
Growing up in Palestine, this was something that I'd already...
What the fuck do you mean, he says? Like, for what other reason, okay? Like, for what other reason would somebody attack the Palestinian kids? Like, for what other reason? Oh, I don't like his hair. I don't like the jersey he's wearing. I hate American media.
I always thought was possible. But did you think it happened here? Not really. No, I definitely expected it would happen to me in like the West Bank in Palestine, but not in Vermont.
Hisham and his two best friends, Kinan Abdalhamid and Tassin Ali Ahmed, all grew up together in the West Bank, doing everything together, including going to college in the U.S. With the war raging, the friends decided to stay with Hisham's family in Burlington during the Thanksgiving break.
Hisham's uncle was driving us from Bowling Alley, and before we went into the house, we decided to walk around the blocks, what we usually do. And on the way back, just across the road, we saw this man standing.
Tahsin and I were both wearing the kufiya, like the traditional Palestinian headscarf, for a variety of reasons. Like, I mean, like, practically because it was really cold, but on a more, like, meaningful sense, it's because that we felt as Palestinians during this time period, it's important for us to show our identity and to show that we exist and that we're human. Just walking along the street, this man comes down the porch, approaches us, pulls out a pistol, like I just remember gunshots and falling down.
Tassin was screaming when he was shot first.
Oh, this kid's still in a fucking wheelchair. Also, I can attest to the practical utility of the kafia. They are very, very good at doing the scarf thing.
Hisham didn't make a sound while I was running. As soon as Tassin started screaming, I was running.
Did you know you were shot?
I mean, I knew that something was up. I didn't quite process the fact until I looked at my phone and I saw my phone had blood on it. I was like, oh, I'd been shot.
All units be advised the shooter's unaccounted for.
The next day, federal agents arrested 48-year-old Jason Eaton,
Guy even looks like a fucking fascist.
who lived steps from the shooting and had an arsenal of weapons in his apartment. He allegedly told the authorities who arrested him, "I've been waiting for you." Eaton has pleaded
But it wasn't hate motivated.
not guilty to attempted murder charges.
Why do you think he shot you?
Systematic dehumanization. I just don't think of the issue as an individual.
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot of attempts for us to fully only demonize the guy, but we realize this is part of a larger systematic issue, which both on purpose and not, people would like to focus on him as an individual. Oh, he's just this one evil guy. But the truth is he's a symptom of a larger issue.
The bullet that hit Hisham struck his spine. Now paralyzed, he's learning how to navigate his new life.
When they told
He'll never be able to walk again.
you what your future may look like, or at least what the immediate future would look like, what was that moment like?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that's hard, but I take solace in the fact that I'm able to receive this care and I'm able to receive this physical therapy and I'm able to, go to a good hospital when, it makes me think of other people in Gaza, who are in wheelchairs and who, have been disabled by bombings and they are not able to receive that. They can't even receive the primary care that they need, let alone the rehabilitative care that they deserve. And that was something that I thought of more than my own life, because I know that my life will continue, but I don't know about theirs.
Bless him. What a pure kid. So, this is interesting. Hamas released a 17-page book on what really happened on October 7th. So, first of all, they explain why they did it. The battle of the Palestinian people against occupation and colonialism did not start on October 7th, but it started 105 years ago, including 30 years of British colonialism and 75 years of Zionist occupation. In 1918, the Palestinian people owned 98.5% of the Palestinian land and represented 92% of the population of the land of Palestine. While the Jews, who were brought to Palestine in mass immigration campaigns in coordination between the British colonial authorities and the Zionist movement, managed to seize control of not more than 6% of the lands in Palestine, and to be 31% of the population prior to 1948, when the Zionist entity was announced on the historic land of Palestine. At this time, the Palestinian people were denied the right of self-determination, and the Zionist gangs engaged in an ethnic cleansing campaign against the Palestinian people, aimed at expelling them from their lands or areas. So the Zionists eventually took control of 77% of the land of Palestine, and expelled, put out of their own country, 57% of the people of Palestine, and destroyed over 500 Palestinian villages and towns, and committed dozens of massacres. Did I hear that Ron DeSantis dropped out of the presidential race and is now backing Donald Trump? Yes. Over these long decades, the Palestinian people suffered all forms of oppression, injustice, expropriation of their fundamental rights, and apartheid. The Israeli occupation between 2000 and 2023 killed 11,299 Palestinians and injured 156,768 others, the great majority of them being civilians. Unfortunately, the U.S. and its allies did not pay attention to the suffering of the Palestinian people, but provided cover to the Israelis. Israeli violations and brutality were documented by many UN organizations and international human rights groups, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, and were even documented by the Israelis themselves. So it goes on and on and on to explain the motivation behind the acts that were taken on the 7th of October. But it's quite long. At least it's long when it's broken down on Twitter. But they close by saying they call for the immediate halt of the Israeli aggression on Gaza, crimes of ethnic cleansing. Turtle Island is what indigenous people call the United States. To hold the Israeli occupation legally accountable for what it caused of human suffering towards the Palestinian people. We call upon the free peoples of the world, especially those nations who were colonized and realized the suffering of the Palestinian people, to take serious and effective positions against the double standard policies adopted by powers and countries that back the Israeli occupation. You love my hat. Thank you. I love my hat too. The superpowers, such as the US, the UK, and France, must stop providing the Zionists with cover from accountability and stop dealing with it as a country above the law. We categorically reject any international or Israeli projects aimed at deciding the future of Gaza that only serve to prolong the occupation. We are standing against the Israeli attempts to cause another wave of expulsion or a new Nakba to the Palestinians, especially in the occupied territories. We call for keeping the popular pressure around the world until ending the occupation. We call for standing against normalization attempts with the Israeli entity and for a comprehensive boycott to the Israeli occupation and its backers. Base statement. I advise you to read it on Twitter.
What's it like to see your friend?
Today is the day that Lenin died in 1924. Here's a song in tribute. I will be right back. Sorry. Just as a disclaimer, I really hate like glazing up historical communist leaders because that's culty and weird. But I mean, a heartfelt tribute, that's good. But like just a cult of personality, that's a no-no. And ironically, both Lenin and Stalin, and also Mao, opposed it. But it was foisted on them anyways. Poor guys. Thing with stuff like this, if it doesn't hit right, it'll put you to sleep. This is what the Israeli occupation force does to elderly people. They have no respect for anybody. There was another school shooting. It's insane. What do you think about the situation? And that's capitalism for you. They never cared about civilians. America is a country where people are extremely alienated from other people, extremely alienated from themselves even. So that type of that engenders a type of nihilism that leads to people doing fucked up shit like that. And there's not going to really be a solution until we establish socialism and help remove that nihilism from the minds of our youth and solve the alienation question. Banning guns is not the answer. Because like various states have implemented very stringent gun control measures, and that really has done nothing. People are still able to get access to these things and carry out these foul and evil deeds. So shit's got to get better. But like I keep saying, it's only going to get better when we implement the socialist system.
لا تصلح حتى للكلب. يعني لو أنت جبت 20 حمار الله يكرم السامعين وعيشتهم بتحط لهم أكل وبتكرمهم أكثر وبتوفر لهم راحة أكثر من اللي كانت موفرة لنا. 24 ساعة قاعدين على ركبنا، ممنوع تطامر راسك، ممنوع ترفع راسك، ممنوع تلف راسك يمين، ممنوع شمال. اللي حكيت كلمة على السريع تقف على الشبك، تتربط وبتتعلق أعلى ما عنده بربطك على رؤوس أصابعك بتضلك واقف. وبختك أنت وبختك عاد 5-6 ساعات أنت وبختك لما يجي له مزاجه. المجند اللي هو كله عمره 20 سنة، بنات صغار كل اللي كان يتحكم فينا. ختيارية عمره 70 و80 سنة، مرضى سكر، مرضى سرطان، مرضى قلب. كان لما يجي يخش الشفت يغير يلاقيه نايم يقول لي وقف على الشبك، يقول له وقف على الشبك. يغمى ويموت يقول له ما بيعنينيش، وقفوه وربطوه في الشبك عشان يضل واقف ما يقعش على الأرض. وهي كل حياتنا. ركبي خربت، ظهري خرب، عيني أنا مش مصدق إن أنا صرت أشوف. عين هذه خبطوا لي فيها خربوا لي إياها. كانوا كل 2-3 بالضبط يخشوا علينا 10 تنفار مقنعين بكلاب، يخلوا الكلاب تشوق علينا، يوقفوا الكلب على ظهره يقول لك.
They let the dogs piss on elderly Palestinians. They made the dogs stand on their backs and did a variety of other things.
يقول له يا سيدي يا تاج راسي انت اشرف من فلان واشرف من.
Japan has banned guns for civilians, yet mass shootings still happen. I've never heard of a mass shooting in Japan. I've heard of I heard what happened to Shinzo Abe with that fucking fallout weapon that dude used, but I haven't heard of any mass shootings in Japan.
المقاومة اشرف من كل الدنيا. وهاي كل اللي صار معنا يا سيدي.
Evil people.
Iran is threatening retaliation following a suspected Israeli airstrike in Syria.
Suspected? Israel did it.
Yeah. The attack,
if I recall correctly, was right next to the South African embassy.
Which flattened.
Was that what they were aiming for?
A building in the capital, Damascus, killed 5 members of Tehran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. Iran's president accuses Israel of spreading instability in the region and says the attack will not be left unanswered. Israel has not claimed responsibility, but the strike comes just days after Iran struck what it called an Israeli spy headquarters in northern Iraq. And the U.S. military says several of its troops were injured in a...
Why do we still have troops in Iraq? Like, why? You ask an average American, they'll tell you that we pulled out of there under Obama. Why the fuck do we still have people in Iraq? Bush invaded Iraq in 2003. That was 21 fucking years ago. There are people who are old enough to drink now who do not remember the Iraq, who were born the year. Kids who were born the year that Iraq was invaded are now old enough to fucking drink, or are going to turn old enough to drink this year. What the Why? Why are we fighting these forever wars?
Another attack on an airbase in western Iraq. U.S. Central Command says Iran-backed militants launched multiple missiles and rockets at the Al-Assad air base.
Then leave. Like, all of these problems, all of these strikes, all of this shit will be solved if we just leave. Imagine being an anti-war activist who has been marching against Iraq. Well, the U.S. presence in Iraq. For 21 fucking years. In 2003, I was 9 years old. Now here I am. I turned 30 this year, and we're still going through this shit.
A U.S.-led coalition facility. It says most of the projectiles were intercepted, but some struck the facility. The U.S. says its troops stationed in Iraq and Syria have faced more than 140 attacks by Tehran allied fighters since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in October.
I'm not true Red Guard, I'm Black Red Guard.
Kristen Halberg, Middle East expert, joined.
I don't give a shit. All these Middle East experts are useless.
And I'm like, well, where's this
What the fuck is this?
liquidity going to come from? And the Lord says, trust me.
That was a pastor for an online ministry based in Colorado who was just charged by the State Securities and Exchange Commission, along with his wife, for running a cryptocurrency scam that took...
American Christianity, with notable exceptions, John Brown, certain Mennonites, etc., is a fucking heresy. It's a heresy. It's a cargo cult. It is a fucking scam. Like, you know what the purest distillation of American Christianity is? Mormonism. Like, that is American indigenous Christianity. Mormonism. Well, American Anglo-indigenous Christianity. This is wild. Like, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar. Dollar is even right in the fucking dude's name. It's a heresy. Jesus would not fuck with these people. Jesus would take a fucking machine gun and just mow them all.
Over $1.3 million
Godcoin, let's go.
from his followers. He and his wife then allegedly spent the money on a Rolls Royce, designer handbags, and jewelry. He recorded a video to try to explain to his followers what happened. It's 9 minutes long, so I made you a supercut.
Caitlin and I are being charged in a civil charge.
Does this look like a very trustworthy man to you?
From the Colorado Securities and Exchange Commission.
Because you're a fucking grifter.
Basically selling millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency that is deemed worthless.
That is worthless. It's not deemed shit. It is worthless.
By the state. Now, the reason that they're saying that it's worthless is because there is no exit for people who have...
Oh, if Jesus was alive, he would definitely use guns. As a matter of fact, if Jesus was alive, Jesus would probably be at Hamas.
Bought. We launched an exchange. The exchange technology failed. Things went downhill. And from that point forward...
He was a Palestinian Jew.
We've just been waiting on the Lord literally for a miracle. So... the charges are that Caitlin and I pocketed $1.3 million, and I just want...
Oh, there was actually a historical figure named Jesus Christ. He just wasn't the son of God or anything like that, but he built a very, very egalitarian movement, and honestly, Christians should study the early Christians and strive to live up to their example. Sell your cloak, give it to the poor. Buy a sword and learn to use it.
I come out and say that those charges are true. So there's been $1.3 million.
He looks like a deep fake.
$1 that's been taken out of, I think it was a total of $3.4 million. But out of that 1.3, $500,000 went to the IRS, and a few $100,000 went to a home remodel that the Lord told us to do. So how this whole thing...
It went to a home remodel that the Lord told us to do. I mean, it's easy to dump on these guys' followers, but like I said before, Americans are an alienated, nihilistic people. Like, they're looking for answers. They're looking for something. Something to hold on to. Something to give us meaning in our pitiful little lives. And they, unfortunately, a lot of Americans end up falling into the clutches of grifters like this. Why? Because they're very slick and they act as if they have all the answers. And of course, even if they know that these people are con men, like, it's better than having nothing to grab hold to.
Started is the Lord told us.
Christians hate when you read the Bible dialectically or read it through a historical materialist lens. No, Leviticus is meant to be interpreted exactly as it's written.
In 21 to walk away from our marketing company, and he said, I'm going to do a new thing. And then he took us into this cryptocurrency. It was a different cryptocurrency other than index coin at the time.
That's not God, bro. That's the devil that made you do that. Can Amazon and Hyundai solve online used car sales? So what, we're gonna be able to buy fucking cars online now? Like, buy a car off Amazon?
Auto dealerships are a $1.2 trillion business.
Mormonism is a load of BS. That's why it's the perfect distillation of American Christianity.
In the U.S. And despite that, many still say the model is broken.
Name a retail experience that the general consumer despises more than purchasing a vehicle.
As with many other categories of retail, car shoppers are also turning to the internet. More than 90% of consumers are going online at least some point in the process, even if only for research, and they're visiting fewer dealerships before buying. And for decades, car dealers have been trying to catch up.
This is kind of the holy grail in the car business.
Car makers like Tesla bypass dealerships entirely and sell directly to customers through their website. Others, like Carvana, sell used cars entirely online. Now, the heaviest heavyweight in e-commerce is entering the race.
Hyundai is charging ahead with its
This is fucking creepy. Like, Jeff Bezos should not have as much power as he does. Amazon should not have as much power as it does. Teddy Roosevelt would not be impressed. No, fuck not being impressed. Teddy Roosevelt would probably have an apoplectic stroke at the amount of power that this one company was allowed to amass.
EV ambitions, unveiling a new model, and we learned a short time ago the company will be the debut seller of cars on Amazon.
When you talk to Amazon, what's really interesting is that they've got 150 million or so Prime customers, and one of the top products that their Prime customers are requesting to purchase online is an automobile.
Yeah, he's one of the most powerful fucking men in the world.
In the face of a potential threat from the online retail...
And it's expanding into more and more shit. Like, that's the scary part.
Behemoth, shares of the major dealership groups and used retailers closed down somewhere between 4 and 8%, but they subsequently recovered.
Anytime you hear about Amazon entering any sort of retail.
Yeah, Jeff is definitely a lot more powerful than Rockefeller was. What do you mean, please turn down the music? The music is part of the video, dumbass.
Sector, the initial fear is that, oh, these guys are going to be the next that get quote unquote Amazon, right?
How committed Amazon is to car sales and how much it can influence the category remains to be seen.
I question how much of this is a marketing and vaporware and how much of it is going to be truly transformational.
This is definitely not going to end up being a fucking horrible disaster.
Sam Cedar, Emma Vigland on the majority.
Yeah, we'll do that later. Let's see what else is going on in the Twitter sphere. Let's see who's beefing with who and who got canceled. Ooh, Cav has paid his taxes. And he's broke. Poor guy. Diane Goslin's criticized for not using last words to condemn Hamas. Isn't it symbolic of American politics that a candidate who ran as a progressive social democrat revealed himself to be a right-wing fascist once he got sworn into office? It's pretty par for the course. Fetterman says migrant crisis threatens American dream for native-born citizens. I mean, you could just look at this guy and tell he's going to be a fascist. Like, this is not a progressive-looking man. Oh, the Daily Heil. Democrat Senator John Fetterman broke with his party, stating that the border crisis is threatening to destroy the American dream as another 300,000 people approach the southern border in hopes of crossing into the U.S. Democratic Senator 54 from Pennsylvania said, I honestly don't understand why it's controversial to say we need a secure border. This guy's probably going to end up switching parties. You heard it here first. Spotted outside Nikki Haley's event, Rudy Giuliani sitting in a parked car with his laptop open. Wonder what he's looking up. Probably porn. Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine. They got skunk sprayed the other day. If you don't know what skunk spray is, it's used on Palestinians in the West Bank by the Israeli occupation. It is known to cause nausea, abdominal pain, and vomiting. Columbia must take action. I saw another post. One of the protesters that was at this demonstration ended up having to go to the hospital due to hazardous chemical exposure from skunk. One of our Columbia University Students for Justice in Palestine members had to be taken away in an ambulance. She is experiencing severe nausea, lightheadedness, tightness of the chest, and an abnormal heart rate. Please pray for her health and speedy recovery. I'm not a praying person, but if I was, I certainly would. I wish for those who did this horrible thing to her and to others to be swiftly and brutally punished. So more about skunk. In Arabic, we call it harara, literally the shitter, for its putrid smell. In English, it is called skunk water, after the notoriously awful smell released by skunks. Skunk water was developed as a crowd control weapon by an Israeli company called Order Tech. Skunk water is a liquid compound with an overpowering odor that has been described by those who have experienced it as the smell of sewage mixed with rotting corpses. In reality, it is a concoction of chemicals that causes intense nausea, obstructing normal breathing, causing violent gagging and vomiting. The company's safety sheet also indicates that it can cause skin irritation, eye, and abdominal pain. So this shit can literally blind you. More about skunk water. And the soul is field tested because it is used on Palestinians. Several U.S. police departments have purchased it. Coming to a protest near you. How Israel's use of skunk water is damaging Palestinian health and economy. Life is becoming unbearable for Palestinian business owners as repeated sprayings of skunk water by Israeli police ruin their wares. So apparently this smell like never ever comes out. Like you could wash, you could do whatever, all you want, and it'll never come out. So look, they're just spraying this shit everywhere, like a water cannon. It is becoming increasingly difficult for Jerusalemites to linger for lengthy periods of time at Damascus Gate or the adjacent Musrara neighborhood or Sultan Suleiman Street due to the huge amounts of skunk water that have flooded in the area in recent years. Although the restrictions on COVID-19 are now unmasking in open areas, no passersby remove their masks because of foul odors that linger for more than 20 days from the time the putrid water is sprayed by the Israel police armored vehicles. Medics have reported skin rash, nausea, shortness of breath, and headaches after exposure to skunk water. So they literally have to put you in the hospital and admit you. That's fucked up. This is harassment. Like, this guy's selling fruit. Imagine getting sprayed full force with that shit. Like, it ruins all of your product, your expensive product, because you live in an occupation. It ruins your clothes, and it might even ruin you. It's like Jungle. It's like the Jungle shit. If you've ever read that book by Upton Sinclair, like, he talks about how this guy worked at a fucking slaughterhouse, and like there was a smell that that never left because he worked around all these dangerous ass chemicals and shit. And like I said, like, these were IDF guys. They shouldn't have been able to just enter a fucking American college campus. I think one of them was a student, but they shouldn't have been able to enter an American college campus and attack students like that without penalty. Like if a Chinese PLA soldier was also attending college at Stanford or UCLA or Berkeley, there'd be calls for war or sanctions and other sorts of penalties. No, not even tomato juice can get it out. People have been whining about me saying I do not care because this is from a community note. Under Lenin, an estimated 50,000 to 200,000 people were directly repressed during the Red Terror. So, let's see. People are even bringing up my old shit. I should remake that video. What types of people were being repressed? Mutinying soldiers who joined forces with the commissars shouting, "Death to that." Down with Bolshevik commissars, looting parts of the city. Horrible things. All power to the Soviets of the Ukrainian people. Ukraine for Ukrainians. Anti-Semitic pogromists. Monarchists. People like that. Like, who needs them? To keep them is no gain. To lose them is no loss. What the fuck is it?
Piece right on top.
Jumbo bowl of Chick-fil-A mac and cheese.
Oh my gosh. Gotta hit it with that Chick-fil-A sauce. You do not need a lot of sauce for this.
We got that Polynesian sauce.
Is this going to be like a honkoid mukbang or something?
That ketchup.
Can't go wrong with that honey mustard.
Hit it with that zesty buffalo, baby.
We got that barbecue sauce.
Of course, you got to put a little love in it with that ranch.
Now we just mix it up.
Now we mix.
Amazing.
I want to eat this right now.
Look at this jacked up fork.
What happened to your fork?
And of course, you got to add these Chick-fil-A pickles.
Oh, hold them on my half. I don't like the pickles. Of course, we got to hit it with that Chick-fil-A cheese sauce.
Of course, we got that Chick-fil-A pepper jack. Yeah. Usually they put them on the chicken sandwiches, but you can ask for them like this. Now we have the Chick-fil-A chicken strips.
Just throw them in there. You know, we got to keep it healthy. We got to add that kale salad on top.
Okay, and our Chick-fil-A cutting board, we got the chicken wraps.
Unwrap that goodness. We're just gonna cut this thing up on our cutting board. Hey, can we get our tray back?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, just dump your chicken wrap. We're gonna give them.
Honestly, I would fuck that up. But I could also laugh at other people for eating it precisely because I would also fuck it up.
There,
There you
tray
go.
back. Sorry
There you
about
go.
that. All right, now we mix all of that up. It is healthy with that salad.
Apparently we got a piece of fork in there.
That's gay as fuck. I can say that because I'm gay.
There's no way. Oh my God, this is so good.
And the cool thing is, it's in a Tupperware, so we can literally put a lid on it and take it anywhere we want.
I gotta get some pickle in there.
No, I would eat that. I hate pickles. I cannot stand pickles. Like, pickles literally make me sick.
2 fork time.
The honkoids are not running World War III with this concoction as their source of nutrients. I agree. Name 10 mutuals off the top of your head. The Last Roman, DSA dude from Green Bay, British YouTuber, Somali, Jewish dude obsessed with basketball, funny hater, Christian guy from Chicago, recovering Gonzalo guy, indigenous anarchist, and a cat. I have a very diverse base of friends. This has been making the rounds. This commenter says that the teen has a very tolerant father because his attitude is too grown for my taste. First of all, like, how are you defining too grown? Like, the kid's a fucking teenager. He'll be grown pretty soon. And this stunts black kids' growth. Okay? This whole Victorian shit. Like, that's not how you raise kids. That's how you raise slaves. That's how we were taught to, that's how we were taught around fucking Massa's table and in Massa's fields to raise servile, obedient children. We're free now. Like, we're not slaves anymore. So we need to allow our kids to develop. And I'm not a father, okay? But, like, we need to allow our kids to develop and advance and not, like, stifle their growth. Oh, Dad, you ain't grown yet. Like, who does that?
Opportunity, no.
You did.
Apparently, this guy's an actor and this is a comedic bit. But, like, still, like, the comments are horrible. People are calling for this kid to be basically beaten to death for talking back to his dad.
I said shoveling like a slave.
Okay, same difference.
No, it's not.
And
No, it's
he
not.
doesn't
This guy looks like my uncle.
think it's a good idea to go around the neighborhood and shovel people's fronts out for money.
Because who's doing that? Who's doing that? It's 2024. Did somebody want their house shovel to get up and shovel for themselves? And then you already maybe shovel.
And, like, yeah, the kid's talking. He's engaging in a discussion with his fucking dad. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, well, back in my day when I was growing up, if I talked back to my daddy, he'd smack me in the mouth. He'd beat the shit out of me. Yeah, that's why you're emotionally fucked up now. It's time we end this whole Victorian shit, kids are seen and not heard shit.
And you want me to do it again? No.
Yo, this new generation, boy. This is the new generation.
Go home.
We used to go get money out here.
I have a job.
The dude has a job. He doesn't want to work 2 jobs. Get up and fucking have a heart attack trying to shovel somebody else's snow. China's Reds say Malcolm X was slain by imperialists. Hong Kong, February 24th, 1965. A Peking newspaper declared today that American ruling circles and racists murdered Malcolm X, whom it depicted as a martyr in the Negroes' fight against U.S. reactionary forces. Jinmin Jipao, official organ of the Chinese Communist Party, declared in an editorial, the blood of Malcolm X will not have been shed in vain. American Negroes will undoubtedly realize from his murder that in dealing with the imperialist oppressors, violence must be met with violence, as Malcolm X himself taught. The editorial represented Malcolm X as an advocate of violence and said he had become a thorn in the side of U.S. rulers. The murder of Malcolm X indicates that they are prepared to use any despicable means to intimidate American Negroes and quell their struggle. This was back when China was actually based. The Travels of Ibn Battuta, I've also read this. He talks about Gaza. From Katya, we went on to the town of Gaza, which is one of the first of the towns of Syria on the borders of Egypt, a place of spacious dimensions and large population with fine bazaars. It contains numerous mosques and there is no wall around it. That's what Israel is destroying. America in one image. I'm the bad guy? How did that happen? This is from Falling Down with Michael Douglas, an excellent view into the American psyche at the end of our empire. This is from Black Jacobins, which I'm reading. Robespierre in the mountain and maintained power until July 1794. The terror had saved France, but long before July, Robespierre had gone far enough and was now lagging behind the revolutionary masses, as bourgeois tend to do. In the streets of Paris, Jacques Vallée and Rue were preaching communism, not in production but in distribution, a natural reaction to the profiteering of the new bourgeoisie. Robespierre, however revolutionary as he was, remained bourgeois and had reached the extreme limit of the bourgeois revolution. He persecuted the workers. Far more working men than aristocrats perished in this phase of the terror. In June 1794, the revolutionary armies won a great victory in Belgium, and at once the continuation of the terror was seen by the public as factional ferocity and not a revolutionary necessity. Right-wing and left of the convention confined to strike at this sinister dictator, and when he sent out the call to the people, he could not get the old response. Some of the sections came, but there was a delay, rain fell, and they went back home again. The revolutionary ardor, which had inspired them since August of 1792, was gone, killed by Robespierre himself. He seems to have been in constant fear of a split between the extreme revolutionism of Paris and the rest of the country, but destroyed his own left wing, and thereby sealed his own doom. Learn from this. Don't be Robespierre. In Ukraine, 573 children have been killed during 2 years of war. In Gaza, 12,660 children have been killed by Israel in just 3 months. And yet the same International Criminal Court that was so quick to act for Ukraine won't even lift a finger for Gaza. The Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip from October 7th to January 19th, 2024 killed 32,246. The killed number includes those presumed dead under the rubble. 12,660 children, 6,860 women, 6,860 women, 29,720 civilians, 62,634 injured, 115 journalists killed, 1,955,000 displaced, 72,440 completely destroyed homes, 250 partially destroyed homes, 169 destroyed or damaged press headquarters, 326 damaged schools, 1,690 destroyed industrial facilities, 247 damaged mosques, 3 damaged churches, 657 healthcare professionals are casualties, 301 healthcare professionals have been killed, and 356 healthcare professionals have been injured. 208 healthcare facilities have been destroyed or damaged, 24 hospitals have been destroyed, 62 clinics have been destroyed, 127 ambulances have been destroyed, 199 heritage sites have been destroyed, 167 civil defense workers are casualties, 41 civil defense workers have been killed, 127 have been injured, finally, 2,350 detainees enforcibly disappeared. Where's the outrage? That's why, I don't really fuck with the Ukraine flag people anymore. Because you all are really adamant, you all are saying fucked up shit about what you want to do to the families of people that are involved in the war against Russia. That are involved in the war against Ukraine. But you can't spare a mumbling word for people who are literally going through a genocide. Ukraine is not going through a genocide right now. Gaza is. So if you cannot realize the injustice of an imperialist invasion just because the people are brown, why would you expect support and solidarity for your cause? Some good news. The Al-Quds brigades of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad have sniped 2 Zionist soldiers in the Al-Jila area northeast of Al-Baraj camp, killing them instantly. Please judge me based on my literally me characters. I go for guys who are authoritative, confident, calculating, and pragmatic. Thank you, punished wine god. Hopefully you stop being punished. Some fash were in New York City today. Look at it. Look at them. Fair beating. Where are the police to beat the shit out of them? They dress like they're fucking future farmers of America. Who are the most progressive Game of Thrones characters? Probably Davos and Samwell. Samwell actually wants to have an elected monarchy in Westeros. No, this looks like, who are these guys? Patriot Front, I think. You can tell all these guys come from towns of like 2,000 people. They've never ridden a subway before. They're so excited. Israel is losing war in Gaza, commanders admit. This is from Electric Intifada. So you got all these military experts who are saying that that they can't win. The Israeli military leaders admit, according to the Times, that their advances have been stymied by a Hamas infrastructure that was more sophisticated than Israeli intelligence officers previously assessed. No, I don't think they were Proud Boys. Proud Boys don't dress like that. I think those were Patriot Front. Failure on the battlefield has led Israeli commanders to conclude that the freedom of more than 100 Israeli hostages still in Gaza can be secured only through diplomatic rather than military means. I mean, if you had listened to the statements that are put out by the resistance, they would have told you that, and they would have saved you and your soldiers PTSD and even getting murked, but you're fucking hard-headed. The unnamed Israeli generals who spoke to the Times consider that a drawn-out battle intended to fully dismantle Hamas would most likely cost the lives of the Israeli hostages held in Gaza. Keep in mind, the resistance have not killed any of the hostages. All of the hostages that have been killed by their own government and their own military.
While all of this carnage is...
That's too long. So the resistance retains control. So you basically invaded Gaza and got your ass whooped. Now you don't know where to turn. Now you want to pick a fight with Hezbollah. It seems like you're destined to turn your illegitimate ass country from Israel into Wasreal. Look at this fucking TikTok army. This is why they're getting their asses beat. They're too busy making fucking TikTok videos. Look at this shit. Victor Surge's memories of listening to Lenin agitate. This is on Lenin. He was neither a great orator nor a first-rate lecturer. He employed no rhetoric and sought no demagogical effects. His vocabulary was that of a newspaper article, and his technique included diverse forms of repetition, all with the aim of driving an idea as thoroughly as one drives in a nail. He was never boring on account of his mimic's liveliness and the reasoned conviction which drove him. His customary gestures consisted of raising his hand to underline the importance of what he had said, and then bending towards the audience, smiling in earnest, his palms spread out in an act of demonstration. It's obvious, isn't it? Here was a man of a basic simplicity, talking to you honestly, with the sole purpose of convincing you, appealing exclusively to your judgment, to facts and sheer necessity. Facts have hard heads, he was fond of saying. Hezbollah has foiled a ground assault. Hezbollah announced that its fighters targeted an Israeli force preparing for an aggression within Lebanese territory at night. Hezbollah shelled the vicinity of Zayat Barrets with rockets. This resulted in confirmed injuries. Imperialists just can't help but bite off more than they can chew, it seems. And they attacked Khan Yunis today. Violent Israeli airstrikes and artillery shelling in the vicinity of Nasser Hospital in western Khan Yunis right now. Israel's military have been advancing toward the so-called safe area in western Gaza, and Al-Muwasi admits reports that about besieging Al-Aqsa University, where nearly 10,000 displaced civilians take shelter. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to any of this. They're just mad. They're pissy. So they go and murder civilians in safe zones. Reminder that Somali Red Guard exists. Apparently, I have a long-lost brother in Somalia.
To the song from the left to the right, from the front to the back, then it's back to the right, to the left, mop it up, clean it up, grab a cup, do your stuff, take a sip, then you dip with the head to the...
He's a far better dancer than I am, of course. They're also stealing antiques from Gaza. The Israelis are stealing antiques from Gaza. This is a war crime. And they're taking it to display at the Knesset. The missing Navy SEALs from last week have been declared dead. CENTCOM, Central Command, says that Airborne and naval platforms from the US, Japan, and Spain continuously searched more than 21,000 square miles to locate our missing teammates. Y'all spent all that money. I could have been told y'all the dudes was already fucking fish food. No way Somalis out here cripping, man. How we develop theory. Y'all need to stop talking about our secrets. This is my city, downtown in 1974. America will collapse for Lenin and Italian run the country. This is disgusting. 20 million shekels have been stolen from the Palestinian people since the outbreak of the aggression and the transfer of this money to the treasuries of the Israeli state. Like, it's just war crime after war crime after war crime. This is the same shit that the German fascists did. Like, they looted an entire fucking room. An entire fucking room from a Russian palace, I think. They're also taking money from the West Bank. Israeli forces conducted large-scale, this is from December 28th, conducted large-scale raids across cities in the occupied West Bank targeting money exchange outlets and seizing millions of dollars that they allege is being used to fund resistance groups. So you're taking these people's fucking capital? They basically want the people either gone or helpless. A vigilante tries stopping a shoplifter. Don't do this. If you do this, you deserve whatever happens to you. You deserve to get run the fuck over. Look at this asshole. The Amber Room in St. Petersburg, that's it. Thank you. Look at this guy. This is apparently he's an off-duty cop. He's saying, I'm a fucking cop. Look at him. He's got the fucking bloused combat boots. Look at him. Like, you don't know if this guy's a cop or not. And this is a suspected shoplifter. Like, why the fuck would you do this? He's got a gun in one hand. Like, this is an extremely unsafe situation. You don't hop in front of... Bruh. You don't see any store employees out here because they know, you know what, fuck it. I don't own any of this shit. Fuck it, let him go. This fucking guy, he's there shopping, and he's... Bruh. Yeah, for real. Like, why? Why would you do this? What possibly could accrue to you as a benefit of doing this? Like, is the guy that owns Lowe's going to come and be like, hey, man, good job. Here's $150,000. The guys who own Lowe's don't even know you exist. He's pistol whipping this dude. Like, this guy would be justified in pulling out his own fucking piece and shooting the shit out of him. God knows what he does in uniform. I'm surprised he doesn't just start shooting at the fucking car. Look at him. He fucking destroyed the guy's car door. Edward Said on France Fanon.
French Court of Justice for the murder of an Algerian. In Indochina, in Madagascar, or in the other colonies, the native has always known that he need expect nothing from the other side. The settler's work is to make even dreams of liberty impossible for the native. The native's work is to imagine all possible methods for destroying the settler. Those are words written by Frantz Fanon, who was born in the French colonial possession of Martinique in 1925.
Martinique.
He was educated as a doctor, he became a psychiatrist, and in the 1950s he went to Algeria and joined the FLN, which is the main resistance group fighting the French.
A proletarian revolutionary life.
And he died in 1961 of leukemia. Fanon became the most eloquent and famous spokesman for the Algerian Revolution, but he also spoke for natives everywhere. He spoke for the natives of Africa, of the Caribbean, and of all of Asia in their struggle against the white imperialists.
Apparently the guy in this picture, like, doesn't like being used for this, But I didn't know that pickup artist bullshit was still a thing. Like, I've never had to use any of this shit. Destroy her ego. Do not compliment her looks. Do not seek her validation. Seeking approval from a woman is the #1 way to inflate her ego to the moon. Like, this is how to be an abuser, #1. This is not how you build healthy relationships. Never ask for commitment. Prioritize your goals above hers. Dress very nicely when you go out with her. The goal of this is to take the attention from her and give it to yourself. She's going to step up her game and compete with you. Look at other women. Never argue with her or get emotional. Never show your insecurity. You shouldn't give a fuck about bro. What the fuck is... And of course, here's the grift. They want you to buy the shitty book or take the shitty course. This is how to be miserable and alone forever, 101. Yeah, this is Andrew Tate type shit. That's horrible. Oh yeah, I've got Cav's new video up. Hold on. Well,
here to unlock
he actually had several. I think I'll watch the other one tomorrow. But while we're on this topic, he did a pretty good video on what they call looksmaxing. What the fuck is that?
Striking, well-defined jawline that enhances your facial aesthetics. We take a huge step into the world of mewing. This technique has gone viral on social media, captivating those who wish to look more attractive, but many still wonder if they're doing it right.
Place the tip of your tongue slightly behind your teeth, then press the rest of your tongue to the roof of your mouth, then rest your teeth together slightly. Close your lips.
Bone smashing. Like, this is white people shit. Please tell me that my people, my beautiful black people, are not engaging in this shit. This has to be something that fucking white dudes are like fucking 19-year-old white kids with acne are into. Please don't tell me black people are engaging with this shit. What are you doing?
I honestly never thought I'd have to come on here and say this, but please don't intentionally break the bones in your face.
So
intentionally break the bones in your face. Yeah, I like Cav. He follows me on Twitter.
Being born in 1995, it has been pretty wild to see society
intentionally break the bones in your face.
Please, I had to see that a second time. Motherfuckers are really intentionally breaking the bones in their face.
So being born in 1995, it has been...
Oh, he's a year younger than me.
Pretty wild to see society's beauty standards change in England and America in particular. And for men, especially like my age, I've never...
The idea is that it will apparently heal and get better. Or you fuck yourself up and have to go to the hospital.
Never felt like great pressure to conform to a certain standard beyond just like, oh, you should have muscles or something like that, right? Or you should be athletic. I've never really felt like I have to fit into some sort of mold. But then there is...
Bone smashing sounds like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Something I spoke about a couple years ago, and it was about male body standards after they revealed for the God of Thunder in God of War Ragnarok, and he had like a pretty big...
That's peak human form. That's what a god, a Norse god, would look like. I mean, you're from a fucking cold climate, aren't you? Having a big gut, I think, would be very practical.
But he looked very strong, right? And people were going absolutely crazy about it. And then I realized, as maybe an older person, I realized how much younger people now,
I'll never understand the kinds of things that white cishet males will do to get women. And the funny thing is that they smash their fucking faces in. They do all this fucked up shit. They give thousands of dollars to these grifters, and they still never get women. So now you're sitting there with a fucking busted face and an empty bank account. Both of those things are quite unattractive and under capitalism. So what's the purpose? What's the point?
want to look like you know, Chris Pratt. They want to look like Chris Hemsworth. And I also kind of feel that myself, in that we're fed as men like these images of these people who are rich, have the best personal trainers, and obviously constantly lie that they're actually on steroids, because they always pretend they're not. But a lot of us know they are. But to a lot of society, like Chris Pratt, they say, well, it's just from what I'm describing, it's not based in any science. And then a new thing that started off as a joke, but people are doing it now, bone smashing your face, meaning breaking bones in your face, so hopefully they repair themselves and you'll have a more defined jaw. Because these are the extents people are now going to try and look a certain way, fed to them by TikTok. And the weird thing about getting older is feeling like out of touch with this stuff, like not knowing really anything about it until you watch like random YouTube videos, because I don't have TikTok. I don't want to ever use TikTok. So I'm a bit oblivious sometimes to these things.
Damn, Cav, you're a fucking boomer. People say I'm the fucking boomer. I don't want to use TikTok. It's got too many yanks on it, for one. I'm stick to YouTube.
Which are based on rating people's appearance. I actually made a video on one which was absolutely insane last year, called True Rate Me.
Yeah, like that's the fucking thing. You don't need to take no fucking drugs. You don't need to do all this stupid shit to make yourself like to attract people to you. Shit like that, being obsessed with how you look as a dude. That's what's attractive. That's what makes people not want to be bothered with you. Then stupid shit like what I just read, how to basically try to manipulate a woman. Like that's just not attractive. Nobody wants to be, bro. That's not game. Okay? That's not game. That's bullshit.
And it seemed to be based on like phrenology or something. Like it really was some skull measuring stuff. So this isn't strictly that, but you have subreddits like How to Looksmax, and people just like post a picture of themselves, ask how they can improve themselves. And with looksmaxing, there is soft looksmaxing, which is your typical advice: diet, exercise, makeup, shave, grow a beard, whatever, just pretty standard stuff. And there's hard looksmaxing. And if you go on the subreddit's website, it explains it for us. So looksmaxing is the art of refining and optimizing one's appearance through a variety of intentional effort.
Yeah, like most of these people want to make themselves look like fucking Nazi propaganda posters. And it seems to be pretty big. Like it seems to be exclusively amongst like Asian kids, like Chinese American and Korean American kids, because unfortunately a lot of those dudes have issues with white supremacy, and they look up to the Euro-Aryanisha body standard or whatever, and also white Americans and white Europeans as well.
It encompasses a range of
So yeah, it's definitely tied to white supremacy.
Activities and strategies aimed at enhancing physical features and overall aesthetic appeal.
You just watch this video and I'm in the comments, you love lookmaxing. Well, there's no smash your fucking face in.
The primary goal of looksmaxing is to bring out the best version of oneself, fostering confidence and positive self-perception.
But it's still not going to get your wee-wee wet.
Like hair dye or
invasive, expensive plastic surgery, fillers, microblading, a semi-permanent eyebrow tattooing technique that gives you those perfect arches without the daily effort, laser hair removal, semi-permanent beauty treatments such as semi-permanent or permanent hair dye, perms, weaves, and other long-lasting enhancements, supplements, non-vitamin supplements aimed at reshaping your physique, whether it's to grow curves or add muscle, a step beyond your usual daily vitamin. What is this dumb shit? I've seen South Asians and East Asians bleaching their dark skin. It's so sad. Yeah, honestly. But it's not all European shit, though. Like in East Asia, being dark means that you're poor, because like going back when there were still peasants hunched over in rice paddies, being dark-skinned meant that you worked outside under the sun and you were poor. Being light-skinned meant that you were noble, because you could afford to sit inside all day and have people fan you. Same thing. South Asia, you've got castes and shit like that. But the Europeans certainly did not make it any better. Could have sworn I put Cav's other video on here. Ah, here we go.
You know who else has a good...
That shit made me sad. So, this is more important than those morons smashing their faces in and getting eyebrow tattoos. I actually made a video about the same topic. Well, not the same topic. It's mostly about Hinkle. But Cav did it, covered it yesterday. And he's talking about how these fascist Twitter accounts are pretending to support Palestine and why we should not trust them. This is something that needs to be pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded into people's heads until they get it. Because, like, okay, first of all, it's obvious that Jackson Hinkle has been buying followers. Like, ain't no way in the world you get 1 million followers overnight. Most of those are bots. But I say that Hinkle is like the culmination of the LaRoucheite plan for to do whatever it is that LaRoucheites want.
working relationship with
and of course his Nazi friend Infrared Haas.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
I wonder if anybody is desperate enough to fuck or date Haas, like does he show them like Hinkle's videos or Hinkle's Twitch? He's banned from Twitch, as he should be. Hinkle's Twitter and be like, see this? I'm responsible for the development of the most censored man on the internet.
Vladimir Putin has a very good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm actually happier that for the sake of, the multipolar world order, that he is in power right now.
So
every time I hear multipolarity, I throw up a bit. We already have one Poland. What do we need more than one Poland for?
Standing in solidarity with Palestine on social media has never been more popular, nor has been responding to like pro-Israeli propaganda. And in that, a lot of, good voices have risen and become very popular on social media. People either exposing Israel's lies, people exposing the on-the-ground situation, people calling out Western leaders.
Honestly, you need to follow actual Palestinians. Like, why the fuck do you want to hear a white dude talk about Palestine? Like, a white dude that has never been to Palestine. A white dude who has no ties to Palestine. Like, what the fuck are you listening to these people for? What do they have to teach you? Listen to actual Palestinians or listen to those who actually platform Palestinians. Why would I want to hear some fucking hippie spawn from California talk about Palestine? What the fuck does he know about Palestine? You're fucking grifting off images and videos of dead fucking kids. That's disgusting. That's sickening. You're a bad person. Listen to Palestinians.
I wouldn't necessarily class myself as someone who's become popular off the back of what's happening, but I'm also someone who's consistently...
Is it me or does Cav look like the millennial version of Guy Fawkes?
He called out the Israeli government, Zionism in my YouTube career. Just type in my name, type in Israel. You'll see all the videos I've done going back years. And for a lot of people, at least, even if we have different politics, we're unified by a general sense of anti-imperialism, right? And especially when our tax dollars and tax pounds are funding it, we call it out, right? And for me personally, I'm a communist, anti-imperialist, obviously an anti-capitalist, and through that lens, you see the reality of the Palestinian situation in that.
I feel like this when white guys drop videos on South Africa or Haiti or Kenya. Like, why would we hear a white man speak on places they destroyed? Precisely.
They are basically a sacrificial lamb for capitalism. That's why most of the countries that are more pro-Palestinian, their governments are basically doing nothing, whether that be Egypt or a whole host of Gulf monarchies. They don't actually care. And also for people like me and people from an Irish background, you of course see the parallels with what the English did to us and what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians, because it's very, very, very similar. Now, in that, there is also one element which always capitalizes on this, and that is straight up traditional fascists who don't like Jewish people. Now, you guys might be a bit confused because you see all the Western governments around the world, all the far-right parties around the world, and who do the far-right fascist parties in Europe support? They support Israel. Now, why do they support Israel? Because they hate Muslims the most, right? They love seeing a country like Israel brutalize Muslims because they hate them, and also a lot of them now are becoming more accepting of Jewish people and seeing Jewish people as white people, and it's more about the color of skin for a lot of Europe.
Yeah, like this already happened in America. Like the fascists from Germany, when they came over here, they were actually shocked to find out that Americans considered Jews white. They actually considered this like a hole in our legal process. Like they actually wanted Jews considered non-white. And they were also like, they thought that Jim Crow was fucking stupid. There's a book about it that I think it's hold on. Let me Google so I don't fuck it up. Laws. Hitler's American Model. That's it. But yeah, he talks about how like German jurists, legal professionals were sent over here and like they found this shit. Like they were like, what the fuck are you guys doing over here? But they also at the same time took a lot of inspiration from the reactionary laws that were passed against black people here in the United States. But they also thought that America was dominated by Jewish people.
And that's
Whiteness is so genocidal that it can kill itself. That is very true.
That's why a lot of fascists do support Israel, including a very famous British.
I mean, did Europeans not spend hundreds and thousands of years practicing genocide on each other before they spread their plague to the rest of the world?
Fascist Tommy Robinson, he's massively pro-Israel because it's kind of like his dream, right? A hyper-militarized society brutalizing Muslims in the name of like Western values, right?
Yeah. American segregationists, people like Bull Connor in the South, like they admired Moshe Dayan, one of the high-ranking Israeli generals, and the Israeli system, because like they thought that America needed to do to black people what the Israelis were doing to the Arabs. They like, there's a story, an account of a Southern police chief, I think it was in Albany, Georgia, or somewhere around there, like pointing at a picture of Moshe Dayan in either Time or Life magazine and be like, you see that? That's the best fucking man on the face of the earth. We got to do to the blacks what they're doing to the fucking Arabs. And that was very common.
So that's why a lot of fascists support Israel. But more traditional fascists still hate Jewish people more than any other group. And in that, you're having a lot of social media creators incentivized by the profit motive of Elon Musk's Twitter, and also trying to infiltrate and weasel their way into pro-Palestinian movements by tweeting a lot of stuff you'd see on many other accounts, but they'd also mix it in with lots of anti-Semitism that has absolutely nothing to do with Israel or Zionism. And it's really two things, right? A lot of these accounts are anti-Semitic, but they're also grifters trying to make money off this situation right now. So what I want to do for you is look at a couple of accounts and basically just show you shouldn't trust them, and they're basically fascist accounts. And I've seen some arguments saying the target, because the world these people want, will literally see you put in a camp as well, right? So, and that leads me into the first account I want to talk about, and that is Jackson Hinkle. Now, if you...
I mean, you can already tell this guy's a grifter. Like, he literally has right there. First of all, he's an Orthodox Christian. His last name is Hinkle, which I think is Dutch, and he's converted to Orthodox Christianity. A lot of these people do that. Why? Because they're fucking Russia stands, and they see Eastern Orthodoxy as being like the Chad trad based version of Christianity. They think that Protestantism and its manifestations in Europe and the U.S. in the modern day are basically soy cuck shit. So they convert to Eastern fucking Orthodoxy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's the spiritual path that you think actually works for you. But they actually see this as part of helping to bring about their thoroughly multipolar stupidity. Jerk off Stinkle. What are we in fucking 5th grade? But like, thing that caught my attention was like, help me expose the propagandists by subscribing to my.
We're here to unlock the secret to a striking, well-defined jaw. We're here to unlock the secret.
Fuck.
We have been.
Stupid fucking mouse. Where is it? Aha.
You know who else has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu?
Leads me into guys.
All right, so this is a sign that you're full of shit. Like, yeah, when my fucking stream on YouTube, if you feel the need to send me, I don't know, fucking $50 to buy a new hat because you want to see me wear a new hat, I'm fine with that. But like, I don't lead with shit like, help me expose the propagandists by subscribing to my X Premium for $3. Like, what do I get for the $3? Like, I get to see you steal more Palestinians' content. I get to see you say more fucking fascist dog whistly shit. Like, what exactly? Why would I get this cracker $3? For what? He lives in fucking Miami. He's gonna be hanging out with Cuban exiles yet.
Basically, a guy who started off as a pretty general left-wing YouTuber and then started becoming more far-right over time, talking about MAGA communism, and now he's just basically a fascist, right? And his politics are mostly motivated by anyone who opposes America is good.
I love this dude's fucking Cockney accent. The Yugoslavians are probably somewhere drunk or recovering from being drunk. Do not summon them.
So it's very incoherent in that he supports Iran, he supports Russia, he supports North Korea. There's no ideological basis in terms of like anti-capitalism.
I never give money to white people unless I'm compelled to. White people owe my people reparations. I don't owe white people anything. Why the fuck would I send $3 to a white person? My ancestors would literally strangle me to death in my sleep were I to do that.
Or anything like that, or anti-imperialism generally. Like, he massively does support the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and also in the past.
Wait, is he on OnlyFans for real? I do not want to see Jackson Hinkle naked.
Because Netanyahu is kind of buddies with the Russians, he's also supported Netanyahu.
You know who else has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu? Vladimir Putin has a very good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm actually happier that for the sake of, you know, the multipolar world order, that he is in power right now compared to the previous coalition in Israel. Xi Jinping of the Communist Party of China has a good working relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu.
So yeah.
And I love how, like, these rightists that eventually become fascists, like, they don't see that as an opportunity or maybe a sign that both Putin and Xi Jinping suck, but they see that as an opportunity to grift and try to drag their audience even further and further to the right. That's why I don't buy this multipolar bullshit. Why would I swap one enemy for 3 or 4 or 5 enemies?
This guy clearly doesn't care about Palestine. But if you go on his account right now, when he has 2.4 million followers,
And that's another fucking shiesty thing about this dude. Why does he write like this? Israel just blew up the University of Palestine in Gaza, even though it had literally nothing to do with Hamas. He writes like a fucking bot.
Everything he tweets right now is about Palestine, is about Israel, and a lot of it is stuff you would agree with if you are pro-Palestinian, because what he's probably doing is looking at various pro-Palestinian accounts, stealing their content, posting it on his own Twitter feed, and just hyper-focusing on what Israel are doing right now, which of course is absolutely fine. But when you actually dive into his politics, you know he is not sincere. Like, he doesn't support Palestinians, he doesn't like Muslims, he just generally hates Jewish people, and he hates the West. And he's massively grifting off this.
A guy named Jackson Hinkle hates the West. Bro, you are the West. You were bragging on your, you were bragging last year, or a couple years ago, that your ancestors came over on the Mayflower and fought in the Union Army. Your last name is Jackson. No. Your last name is Hinkle. Your full name is Jackson Hinkle. Okay? Like, why don't you change your name? Like, why don't you try to Russify your name? Or why don't you, I don't know, maybe one or two of your ancestors was Irish or something, or Cornish or something, or Scottish. Maybe why don't you Galicize your name? Jackson Hinkle. Why are the Zionists at Rockstar Games releasing this sexualized video game for children in America? Get hashtag ban GTA 6 trending right now. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's because I'm a fucking academic or because I actually read really thick and really dense books, but like, I find it difficult to take this guy seriously as a political commentator because he writes like a fucking fourth grader. Imagine trying to tie Zionism with CGI titties. Wild reach.
To make himself even more popular. Again, you can say, well, it's a big account tweeting pro-Palestinian stuff, but at the end of the day...
Yeah, he's not... No, fuck this guy. He's a fucking content thief. He steals content from Palestinians who are actually going through this shit. And there's no excuse for that. To what? To get dumb motherfuckers $3? I'd rather give it to the fucking crackhead on the corner. People have always been the foolish victims of deception and self-deception in politics, and they always will be until they have learned to seek out the interests of some class or other behind all moral, religious, political, and social phrases, declarations, and promises. Champions of reforms and improvements will always be fooled by the defenders of the old order until they realize that every old institution, however barbarous and rotten it may appear to be, is kept going by the forces of certain ruling classes. And there is only one way of smashing the resistance of those classes, and that is to find in the very society which surrounds us the forces which can and, owing to their social position, must constitute the power capable of sweeping away the old and creating the new, and to enlighten and organize those forces for the struggle. Jackson Hinkle said Claudia de la Cruz and her running mate should be deported. But yes, he's a multipolarity supporter, and he is a communist and a good revolutionary. Is it Europe's job to develop Africa? This was in response to those blacks taking L's jabronis saying something last night about, like, your countries are underdeveloped. And honestly, no. It is not Europe's job to develop Africa. Africans want nothing from Europe other than to be left alone. Quit staging coups, stealing resources, and backing crackpot-ass dictators. Africa is fucked up because Europeans fucked it up through centuries of colonization and meddling, which it continues to do. Everybody who tries to unfuck it, Sankara, Nkrumah, Lumumba, Europeans either murder or drive in exile. Leave Africa alone. That's all we want. That's all Africans want. We don't want shit from you. People who say that trans people go too hard forget that the early 2010s and mid-late 2000s. When I was in middle school and high school, trans people were being lampooned in every medium, from late-night comedy to cartoons to lunchroom banter. Nowadays, that shit will get you in trouble, but back then, saying that those remarks and attitudes were ignorant got you laughed at or called oversensitive. They called you a pussy. It's through the struggle of trans people themselves and the refusal to be marginalized that the conversation has changed. Going too hard gets you your rights. When you try to accommodate yourself to the ruling class and the people who are oppressing you, that's how you end up going extinct as a people. We're supposed to have pity for the IDF soldiers with PTSD. An IDF soldier just went crazy in an Israeli city, or I think it was a military base, I can't remember, and killed somebody. Like, just pulled out his gun and shot somebody. And they're saying that, like, Gaza has given the entire IDF PTSD. But the thing is that Israel has been giving the entire Palestinian nation PTSD since 1948. Cry, shit your diaper, scream, never go to sleep, go crazy on each other in the barracks. I hope you see ghosts every time you open and close your eyes. If you're Israeli, if you're an Israeli soldier and you're watching this, I hope you see ghosts every time you open and close your eyes. I hope you see no peace on the hopefully short period of time you have left on this earth. The rich are the most energetic flag wavers and patriots in every country, but only so long as they enjoy their possessions. To safeguard these, they will desert their God, their king, and their country in a twinkling. CLR James, Black Jacobins. You got into a fight with an IDF veteran earlier, and he sent me gore videos of dead Israelis at the concert going, "You support this?" And I just said, "Yeah." LOL. Edgy. White progressives and leftists are politically backward compared to black leftists because they don't seriously study colonized theoreticians. They study European hipsters like Zizek and liberal academics who have never made revolution. Y'all are still trying to vote for president and shit. Malcolm, Mao, George Jackson, Fanon, Asada, Dubois. No, Du Bois. He would smack me if I referred to him as Dubois. Du Bois. Rashid, James Jackie Sales, Sanika Shakura, Walter Rodney, Huey Newton, Fred Hampton, Kwame Ture. They will give you clarity. Read them, know them, love them. RBN thinks Haas is a communist. Well, people are free to be wrong. Who were the most progressive U.S. presidents? Poll I did. You have JFK, you have FDR, you have Grant, and you have Teddy Roosevelt. 62.7 for FDR. The guy that literally put the Japanese in camps. We need fucking Gonzalo. We need Mao. We need Jesus. We need something. But I get it, the New Deal. But Mussolini referred to the New Deal as fascism. So, meh. We must practice revolutionary democracy in every aspect of our party life. Every responsible member must have the courage of his responsibilities, exacting from others a proper respect for his work and properly respecting the work of others. Hide nothing from the masses of our people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, or failures, and claim no easy victories. Amilcar Cabral. Israelis were so focused on their stupid music and dance they got smoked by paragliders. And 3 red triangles for all occupation soldiers.